Hey, Slater Crusaders, welcome back to our special Erasing History Left-Wing Lunacy. So, listen to Jesse and Buck a lot talk about wartime conservatism and what that looks like. And I've been thinking about what my role is in that, because everyone has a different role to play. And I don't know yet, quite frankly. But I'm becoming an old man, 35, back hurts, tired. So I'm looking at these statues being torn down, and I'm like, someone's got to stop that. Not me. I'm old. But there's got to be some young whippersnapper out there. And then, sure enough, here is Gavin Wax. He's the president of the New York Young Republican Club, and he was out there defending a Teddy Roosevelt statue, among others, the other day. And I said, yes, we need more of him. Gavin, how are you, brother?
I'm great, Mike. Thanks for having me.
Glad you're here. Tell me about, let's specifically start with the Teddy Roosevelt statue. What happened?
Well, absolutely. This board of directors, this woke board of directors of the Museum of Natural History decided it was in the best interests of themselves to prove their wokeness and virtue signal to the world by removing the equestrian statue of Teddy Roosevelt, which greets millions as they enter into the American Museum of Natural History. Our 26th president was the reason that institution is there today. He was a great man. He founded a lot of political movements. He was ahead of his time, and he deserves a lot better than to have his the statue commemorating him be torn down in this frenzy to destroy our past that we see going on across our country.
It's pretty wild. There's two groups of people tearing down statues. You have people in the middle of the night wearing masks, and then you have the board of the museum and the New York City Council taking down statues of Teddy Roosevelt, right? So there's two different groups doing it. What's the problem with Teddy Roosevelt? Do you know what their argument is?
Well, first they tried to claim it was the hierarchical composition, which is just basically a fancy way for saying that he is the prominent figure in his own statue, that he is the focal point of a statue commemorating him. But now they're basically attacking him for who he was as an individual. I mean, now he's an imperialist, he's a colonialist, he's this, he's that. So the problem here is they always move the goalpost. They'll always eat their own. They'll attack him. He was a progressive at the end of the day. I'm a conservative. I'm defending him. And this is about much more than ideology. It's about, preserving our history. So we can't remove him. We can't destroy the past. We need to learn from the past to build a better future.
Yeah, Teddy Roosevelt is one of the most impressive human beings, certainly in American history, like beyond measure. What was the first thing you said? Why did they want to get rid of it? It's something composition? What's that term?
Yeah, it's this really academic way of saying they just don't like him. Hierarchical composition.
Okay, what? I don't even, like, how can that, what does that mean? Like every statue is of a person?
Well, precisely. They were hoping no one would actually dig into this. It was one of their vapid statements of the press, and no one would press them on it. And they're thinking, oh, these dumb conservatives, they probably don't know what this means. I mean, it's all hoity-toity nonsense. Of course, it's a hierarchical statue. He's on a horse. I mean, if you're on a horse, it's going to be hierarchical. You don't love a horse.
So what was the end result so far of what y'all did, and where's the statue now?
Look, we're under no illusion. We know we're up against the institutions here in New York. It's an uphill battle, but they were trying to do this in the dead of night. They wanted no transparency. They wanted just to remove it without any backlash, without anyone knowing. So our rally, which brought over 200 patriots out in the scorching heat to the Upper West Side of Manhattan, which is a very big conservative hotbed, they came out there. They let their voices be heard. Now it's gotten international press. It's got tons of press. We have a video online with 2 million views. So we put some heat on this board of directors. And now there's a bill actually in the city council from a Republican council member, Joe Borelli, who's trying to push legislation that says that any type of removal of a public statue or monument requires a public referenda. There needs to be some transparency. There needs to be public input into what happens. And I'm not saying we'll win the vote, but at least do it through a proper process, not just, unilaterally.
Yeah, it was Jesse Kelly who said these companies and board of directors or whatever, they're not going to stop caving and doing all these things until they're scared of conservatives.
Exactly.
Right? And until you and people like you push back. And I'm so grateful you're doing that. Why do you care, Gavin? What's it to you?
I think our country's at an inflection point, and we all saw our cities burning, the mobs outside the White House. I mean, we're really entering into our dark period of our history, and I think people need to make a decision if they want to stand up for this country and everything it stands for, or they just want to let it just continue to decay and continue on this path that it's heading. And I think there is a massive silent majority out there that want to see this kind of fight. And due to the outpour that we've received, my club, me as an individual, I think people are finally sick and tired of our weak leadership, and they're looking for people to lead a fight back. So I'm happy to do that.
Yeah. what was your pivot point of being a conservative? Why, like, where did you personally start going down this road?
I mean, look, in high school, I think I would probably describe myself as a Democrat and a socialist. I mean, I've definitely changed my views over the years. I mean, I read a ton. I kept my mind open. I wasn't just, sitting, in my own little echo chamber. I think I was lucky that I sort of missed this massive kind of indoctrination period that sort of hit the college campuses probably under the last few years of Obama and right into the beginning of Trump. That's when things, I think, got really bad. So I was still able to, kind of avoid the politicization of our education system. But I think millions of Americans, they go into these, millions of young Americans, they go into these education systems, they come out de-educated. They come out not even knowing who these statues represent, who they're about. I mean, that's why you see people knocking down abolitionist statues. That's why you see people knocking down or trying to knock down Abraham Lincoln statues. It's a mass, misinformation campaign that's going on, and we need to fight back against it.
I think you're right. You may be so I'm 35, and I graduated college in 2007, and I felt the same way. And you may be the youngest person to have just missed like total crazy town indoctrination in universities. Right, you're like the last man out before things totally jump shark. What are you hearing from other young people, not young crazy activists, right? But just like normal 25-year-olds. What's your assessment? And it could go either way. Like I've heard some people be positive, I've heard people be more negative. Where do you stand on young people's political leanings in the future?
Yes, I have a lot of, quote unquote, normie friends that I went to high school with, to college with, who didn't know I was political. They've reached out to me privately and they say, God bless, brother. I love what you're doing. Keep up the fight. I hate what's going on. I don't want to speak up because of my job. I don't want to speak up because of my friends. I mean, there's a lot of people out there that are just scared to talk about it. Sure, I know a lot of people that, I grew up with, and they were good people, and they've just completely gone off the deep end in terms of this radical wokeism. I mean, it's a sad state of affairs. But I think in general, I think there's a lot more people out there that are reasonable. Maybe they don't agree on every policy point. Maybe they're not going to talk to you about, the intricacies of immigration policy. But for something like this history, something about just loving this country, that's a pretty standard, thing we can all get behind. And that's where I'm seeing a lot of people stand up and saying, yes, I'm with you. Young and old.
That's good. Yeah, that's a simple one, you would think. Hopefully they're going too far and they're helping us rally. Give me some encouraging story that you've had over this last week or so from people you've heard from or whatever since you've been standing up.
I mean, with the outpouring of support, my club has received, thousands of dollars in donations. We've got tons of new members. Our inboxes are packed with letters of support. Yes, we have the occasional loser trolling us, attacking us, but that's to be expected when you stand up for something. The press has been incredible. I did Laura Ingraham last night. We're just doing this bit by bit. I said last night, we're trying to build a movement. We're trying to stand up finally. I mean, here in New York City, we got plenty of things to protest about. There's no shortage. So now that we're going into the summer and King Cuomo and Mayor de Blasio are not letting us, hold events, we're going to start holding rallies instead. And we're going to let our voices be heard, stand for our police, stand for our country, and push back against this cultural revolution that's engulfing our country.
Are you prepared to get beat up?
Well, the funny thing about it is that I think anyone who goes to a gym or actually, eats red meat tends to be conservative. I don't know. There's something about like the biology, psychology about that. But look, we saw Antifa people there. I mean, they're all scrawny. They're all ridiculous. They only charge when they have the numbers. A funny enough story is that when we showed up, we got there from 11. We were going all the way till 2 or 3. There were 200 plus of us. They didn't show up. There were no counter protesters. The second we left, and there was a few stragglers, the people remaining, maybe like a dozen or two, that's when this massive, 100 plus Antifa BLM march started. They purposely waited until we left because they only like to attack when you don't have the numbers, when they could just surround you as sole individuals. So there's strength in numbers, and if we stand up and unite, they'll run and flee. They're so used to weak leadership, sadly, from our side, that when they see strong leadership, when they see people standing for our anthem and everything, they run and hide.
Yeah, which makes perfect sense because look at the cowardly thing they're doing. They're tearing down statues, which by definition cannot speak for themselves. Right, so that's the easiest thing to do, and they're going to run from actual real people like you as well. Gavin, you're the man. Where should we forward people to learn more about you and your group and to support you?
Absolutely. Thank you, Mike. You can follow me on Twitter, Parler, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube at Gavin Wax, GAVINWAX, and you can follow my club at NYYRC and on online www.nyyRC.com.
Cool. New York Young Republican Club. All right, Gavin, let's talk again, man. Superb job. Keep it up.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it.
Awesome. More of that. Encouraging. Erasing history. Left-wing lunacy. See you on Monday. Spread the word.